Welcome, DeFi Degens and airdrop assault, whatever Jeff wants to call you.
The
I am
airhead.
Mike, aka Veteran Crypto, and this is Jeff, aka the Blockchain Report. We'll have to come up with a nickname for your airdrop crew, but we have a good episode planned for you today. We're going to talk a little bit, about the markets. Not going to go too deep into it. Anybody paying attention knows that they're in the tank right now. But we will talk about, kind of DeFi and what those markets look like using DeFi Llama, RWA.xyz, like always. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about Plume and a little bit about KTA or KETA, just to kind of give a little bit of an update on, what's going on with those. And then also I'm going to touch on, as part of Plume, a test deposit that I did on Tempest, and just kind of the emotional roller coaster I went through trying to figure out, where my deposit went and things like that. But with that, how are you doing, Jeff?
Doing good, man. I got had a little tattoo sesh today, so I'll
Oh,
kind
let's
of show
see it.
that later.
Let's see
Um,
it. Or is it
oh,
covered?
it's covered, but I posted a picture. I'll share it here when I go through the socials. But yeah, doing pretty good. Just enjoying the weekend, man. I did get out of my KTA ETH pool and just went into ETH this morning. So I
Okay.
was like, I don't like how the market was looking, and I just said, fuck it, I'll just exit to ETH for the day and see how it looks. And I'm glad I did, because I looked back after my session, I was like, oh fuck.
Yep. No,
So
it's. I mean, you got to do what's right for your portfolio, and that's why I did that episode the other day. That that episode 8 of the DeFi Academy was nothing but building out a solid portfolio that has a solid foundation that's going to pay you yield no matter what the markets do. And I'm not going to pretend like I knew this dump was coming, but what I taught in that episode is for things like this. When the markets dump, if you're in full range positions, you're in lending, you're in staking, those things, it doesn't matter what prices do, they're always going to pay you yield. So that's why I talked about in that episode, without getting into too much detail here, why the majority, on a risk off portfolio in DeFi, that you want the majority of your portfolio being in those types of DeFi plays. And then you just have smaller positions that are ranged that boost your earning. But if they go out of range, you can just hodl those positions. You don't need to rebalance them, and you're still earning yield. And you just patiently wait for the markets to go back up.
yeah, and I got my Plume position I kept in, and it just dipped out earlier, so I'm keeping that one. So, it was still look. I don't know, certain things I'll take out that are a little more risky, but I do like the KTA like accumulation zone that is coming into. So with
Yeah,
the stuff that they got going on, I mean, we'll see. Somebody was saying it's the Solana killer. I don't know.
oh,
I mean, well,
I
hey,
I
if it can
I
stay up,
appreciate their
can
motivation.
stay active and not go down. I will say that if it does that, it might give it a run for its money. But we'll got a lot of stuff with these layer ones, or layer twos, I should say,
Yeah. Well,
today.
let's do socials real quick, and then
Yeah.
let's just go ahead and jump on into this after you do socials.
So thanks everyone for joining us today. So at DeFi Crypto Airdrops, we go live every Monday and Saturday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you're international, it's midnight UTC. So there you go.
Oh, look at you
Yeah,
flexing
a
the
lot
times.
of the crypto things, like the airdrops, they're like, oh, it drops at midnight UTC or 4 a.m. UTC. Like, okay, what the fuck is that here? So yeah, it's
Oh,
midnight.
and real quick before I forget, I've gone back and I've added subtitles to all of our videos
Mm.
in Hindi, Mandarin Chinese, Indonesian, Portuguese, Spanish, Vietnamese, Russian, Thai, Korean, and Arabic. So
Oh
if
shit, boss.
yeah, so if you're speak any of those languages and you're not fluent in English, I've done subtitles in all of those languages. So I hope you enjoy. So anyway, sorry,
Oh hell
socials.
yeah. No, thanks, Mike. Yeah, Mike killing it. helping everybody around the world get
Hell yeah.
access to this awesome DeFi degen and airdrop stuff. But you can catch our brother channels at Discover Crypto, Blockchain Basement, BitLab Academy, and our DCA consortium. We're going to try and work on building out our own little community of amazing creators, and just try and bring some awesome content and new builders in the space to you all. And I'm at the Blockchain Report, and you can catch us on Twitter, the_only_DCA, and catch Vet at Veteran4Crypto. Make sure that you're following the right accounts here, and me at the BCR142. And there he is. He's a little
Oh,
bloody. He's a little
yeah.
bloody. But yeah. He's a Shima Inaga, Japanese snowbird. So yeah,
All
pretty cool, pretty cool. So there we go. And oh yeah, our Discord. So we have our Discord. Oh shit. Let me pop this up right here. Or we got a lot of we got the DGen chat, but we got hot projects, DeFi pools, protocols, portfolio sharing, and especially the tracking sheets. If you guys, I know there's been a lot of questions like, hey, can I get the checklist or whatever, the tools that Vet uses, a lot. He shares them in here. So all the access that you would need to that stuff, so you don't go searching around and
Yeah.
clicking the wrong links.
Yeah, basically, it's just a DeFi portfolio tracking sheet. So you can put all your positions in there. It has all the formulas. It will auto calculate what you're making per day, per month, per year. Just the bull run tracking sheet and your ladder out strategy that you can build out again with all the formulas. Will tell you what you're going to be cashing out at the end of this bull run if you hit all your exit positions, or exit targets, all those sorts of things. So,
Yeah, a lot of great alpha and tools and stuff that will definitely help on your DeFi and airdrop journey.
hey, the anybody that's watching, if you have any questions throughout
Mhm.
this, if you could, please drop them in the chat. We highly encourage interaction, even if
Yes,
you.
yes. Oh no.
Be afraid to ask any questions whatsoever.
Oh, what up,
Oh,
Sag Nasty BP? I don't see him on which channel is he on? Because I tried to comment at him because I have something to share with Sack Nasty.
oh, he was just saying when I was talking about the subtitles, if we could put it in Morse code, and so me and him were joking
Oh,
about. Yeah, yeah. So, all right.
yeah.
So, if you're done with the socials, let's go ahead and
What you
jump
got?
into our. Let's go ahead and jump into. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take over real quick. Oh, I guess it would help if I shared my screen. All right, here we go. Let's go to DeFi Yama. All right. So DeFi Llama, I always like to cover this just because it gives an idea of how the DeFi markets are doing. DeFi and regular crypto, they tend to move differently, in my opinion. So when the markets are dumping, obviously you're going to get less volume. You're going to get a lot less people swapping, things like that. So you're going to get less fees. However, it seems like it using my tracking sheets, and that's why it's so important to track your portfolio and your earnings, is, and I like to update mine at least every couple of days, if not every day. But to better understand how your portfolio performs and how the pools that you're in are performing, because obviously you don't want to be staying in positions that aren't earning you yield over periods of time. So um, I always go to DeFi Llama because it will give you a feel. You can, there's all kinds of different data points that you can look at. This table up here is I always put on TVL and DEX volume. Green is the all the DEXs together, every chain, all DEXs, and it consolidates all that data here. So you can see what the volume is doing, you can see what the TVL is doing, and for the most part, we're just trending sideways. The markets have been dumping pretty consistently over the past months, couple months, and for the most part, we are just trending sideways. That not a whole lot of fluctuation in DeFi, whereas and it reflects in my tracker. My HODL portfolio is going down while my DeFi portfolio is growing. Every time I recalculate, my DeFi portfolio looks better. So I am
Mm-hmm.
bullish as always on DeFi. RWA.XYZ, you can just see we continue to go up. TVL is up 5.5% over the past 30 days. Total asset holders up 100% over the past 30 days. And everything is in the positive. Even though the markets are dumping, DeFi and RWAs continue to grow. I can only imagine what they're going to do when the markets actually really do take off. Down here, you can see Plume is now number 5 as far as RWA count, and it's up on 30-day. It's up 182%, just continues to grow. And on other matrices, you can come to here and you can look at the total value, excluding stable coins. You can see that, Plume, something that we're bullish on here is at number 12. RWA token holders, it's number 1 and just keeps growing. It is up 38,271% over 30 days. But pretty much all of these you can click on, and Plume is in the top 10. And it only launched maybe 2-3 weeks ago. So, people that look at the price of Plume and get bearish on it, I don't know what to tell you. You can invest on emotion, you can invest purely off price, but in my experience, if I invest in fundamentals and not emotion and price, it treats me very, very well. What do you have to say, Jeff?
Oh man, we'll definitely get into that because I want to dive into that with the layer twos because that gets into a whole can of worms because there are things that yeah even though the price is down in the dumps like Celestia, that has good proven tech that can really helps benefit the space like layer 0,
Mm-hmm.
but the price is just shit. And then there's other projects. I mean, those will last. Those will stand the test of time
Mm-hmm.
because they're so fundamental, like Chainlink. And then you got other projects like we're going to go into, like Chroma, where it doesn't. It's just another layer 2 that doesn't add functionality or utility. It's just a waste of blockchain space and takes up liquidity. So then it's going away. So yeah, it.
Well, and that's going to happen. I mean, we are
Mhm.
moving from a speculative market to a utility market.
Yeah.
Up until recently, blockchain has been almost nothing but speculation of what it possibly could do, or what everyone was, what different projects were claiming they were going to do. We are starting
Mhm.
now to see what these projects actually can do with the onboarding of institutional, money and functionality, and them actually building out on these chains, and realizing, okay, they claimed that there was, that it was this fast, that this many transactions per second. Okay, they were telling the truth, or they were lying, or they were
Mhm.
saying it was secure, and they're getting hacked. Just we're starting to realize where this technology is actually going, as opposed to the claims that were being made by some of these projects. But real
Yeah.
quick, before we jump into that, I want to touch on this. I posted about it earlier. Part of it is I'll say is user error myself. That I just wasn't super knowledgeable, but a majority of it is work that they need to do. So I'm always testing out new protocols for the community in our Discord, and just in general to share with people that are in DeFi, as these new platforms are popping up. This one is called Tempest, and it's on the Plume portal. So if you come here to explore, then you can go to ambient, and here in ambient, you can connect your wallet. Let me connect real quick. So you can connect your wallet, and there is these. So a member of our community was pointing these out, and I had seen them, but they pointed them out, and it kind of prompted me to dig a little bit deeper. And you can see they're claiming 8,272% APR. So of course this caught our community members' eye, and was like, "Hey guys, what do you think of this?" And so I went to go check it out, and I clicked on deposit. And when you click on deposit, it actually takes you to this site, which is Tempest. And you can deposit here and provide liquidity and and earn yield, of course. However, I deposited a small amount twice, and nowhere on this site does it reflect. Like even at the top, it shows my deposit. It shows $0. So I was like, okay, it came out of my wallet. Where the hell did it go? And so I checked on ambient. It didn't reflect it. I checked on Tempest. It didn't reflect it. I tried to do the live chat down here in the bottom right-hand corner. No reply, because, the AI isn't, fully operational yet. Because I mean, this is still very new.
Okay.
So that being said, I came over to here, went to home and my profile. So this is the Plume portal. And basically it consolidates all the positions that I have on Plume mainnet. And you can see I have some wrapped Plume. I have some on Rooster, from doing all the different tasks, and, and some, different liquidity that I'm testing out. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's this ghost position that I have that doesn't tell me how much it's worth or anything or where it's at. It is a Plume temporary staked Plume wrapped ETH position. That's what this is. So basically that liquidity that I deposited on Tempest that is part of ambient, this is that position. So it took me a while to figure this out, but this is the liquidity token that it gave me for that deposit. So again, anybody that, a couple people in our Discord said that they ran into this as well. Just wanted to put that out there to, anyone that runs across this. Don't freak out. Check the Plume portal. Check, the bottom of your holdings there, and you should have this TS Plume wrapped ETH position. So with that,
Nice.
let's check if we got any questions.
Oh yeah. Alex entered the wrapped ETH KTA pool on VFAT. Do I purchase cover?
Okay. So cover is basically insurance. I have not gotten that. From what I read about it, it doesn't necessarily, give you insurance against losing your money, or, impermanent loss or anything like that. It's insurance, so that, say that there's a hack or the platform goes down, that sort of thing, that, it's insurance against that. So, oh, and what does CL numbers mean?
Yeah. Oh, the concentrated liquidity?
Well, CL is concentrated liquidity, and then the number is basically ticks. And so if you open it up, well, here, I'll show you real quick. Where's a good one? Yeah, actually, this is probably the easiest place. So you can see at the bottom, kind of like a ruler at the bottom of this range, there's these little ticks. Like it's in reference to those. And I won't get into the nitty gritty of what those are, but basically what it is whenever you make adjustments to the range, it's how much each one of those clicks move the range. So if there's a higher number, usually whenever you adjust the range, like This one, the high end of the range is 27.57. This is a CL200. So if I rebalance, let's go to an out of range one. So, if I go and I click this, it goes from 270 to 357. So each one of those clicks is moving it quite a bit. Whenever it has a higher number, then usually, let's see if we can find one with a higher number real quick. Well, here's one that's a CL10, and you can see there's like almost no ticks down here. And whenever you go to adjust this, it's actually much smaller increments of movement. So it's the reverse of what I was saying. Sorry about that. But you can see each one of these clicks moves 10. So on a 60, each one of the clicks should move 60. On a 200, each one of the clicks should roughly move 200, is what it appears to be to me. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about the extra numbers like that, like what exactly they meant. So,
So good question. Really good question.
yeah. Yeah, did you see they mentioned the Tempest Vault? I didn't know if you had brought it up, but that was a previous comment from Alex.
Yeah,
when you were talking about Tempest.
that's what I just covered.
Yeah.
With the with the fact that I made those two deposits and kept basically wasn't showing up on the platform. So I'm like, okay, it's not in my wallet. You took my liquidity. What'd you do with it? And I had to find it in the Plume portal, on that list.
Nice. Yeah. Oh,
So
did you get your spin today?
What's that?
Did you get your spin today?
Actually, I already did my spin. I got 100 Plume points, so I'm all good there. But well, let's go ahead and jump into the topic of these layer twos, man.
Yes. Let me pop my screen up because this is I tell everyone out there, I have been thinking about this for a while now, and it's about these layer twos that don't really have any utility or use case. I mean, they're cool for a little while. So this layer two that I actually airdrop farmed, I have like the past year and a half, all these videos from airdrop campaigns.
Oh, there it is. Right there, Chroma. There it was.
Yeah. Oh, these are all Chroma. These are all these videos. Okay. Yeah, that's what I searched. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like a year and a half worth of videos on this project and campaigns. And it's mostly like a layer two focused on gaming. And they just didn't really, they had issues with the airdrop and delaying it and all kinds of shit. So they just announced 2 days ago that they're sunsetting the blockchain and they're migrating all the KRO tokens to Ethereum. So they're shutting down the network, and I think I might have like a few dollars on there, but they're going to be Chroma contracts will no longer support interactions. And this is the first layer two that I've seen do this. So this is kind of like the first of what I suspect will be many more to follow. Withdrawals may require manual dev-side intervention, no clear time for when or if asset access will return. To avoid being locked out, withdraw now, and assets available to withdraw and unstake. So,
is there any kind of timeline or?
The 26th is
when,
June 26th, and it's I've been saying this for a while now. With the amount of layer twos, even Optimism and Arbitrum, and this is built on the Optimism rollup or optimistic rollup super chain that Optimism provides. And at some point, you just aren't going to have any use case or utility for these layer twos. And, Base is one exception because of it's connected to Coinbase, and onboarding people into the network, and they have a pretty good brand, the whole market, and building out, decentralized finance the way it has and captured so much of the market. I mean, when you can onboard people from Coinbase into crypto by just like it was really easy for you. That's what you were,
Well, well,
mainly
just
used.
just the recent announcement, where they, where Brian Armstrong came out and said they're going to be offering, DeFi directly on Coinbase, and that's going to be
Oh yeah.
utilizing, the base network. And, so Aerodrome is going to be a massive part of that. So, all the people that were bearish on a Aerodrome, it tanked from $2.20 down to like 30 cents. I kept telling people, it's like, look at the fundamentals, not the price. You're
Yep.
going to get destroyed if you look at the price. This is an opportunity to stack a great project that's not going in. If I
Mm.
thought that Aerodrome was going somewhere, I would say so. But, we can see now, it's you really have to invest on fundamentals and just check your emotions at the door. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, and this is the turning point, I feel, because it's important that we determine what is going to benefit the space and what isn't. And I've been saying for a while that all these layer twos and even like Starknet, which is a layer one,
Mm.
it that's failing. And let's check it out, Starknet, because that's another one that I farmed. I think I got like $1,200 off the, but I spent a lot, maybe several $100. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, Starknet.
Starknet was somewhat unique because I know that
Yeah,
they had something called Starkware technology, and
yeah,
it was a developer friendly. It was more developer friendly than the EVM compatible L2s. That slowed down the DApp development, and it looks like competitive pressure. Some notes that I took competes with
hmm,
other ZK rollup L2s, for example, Loopring and ZK Sync with optimistic rollups.
yeah.
For example, Arbitrum, but lacks a strong foothold, and it struggled to build a robust user community, resulting in low ecosystem growth and transaction activity. So, I mean, basically, what that boils down to is tech doesn't always mean that, and that is part of fundamentals, but tech doesn't always mean that a project is going to survive or thrive. A lot of it has to do with marketing. I mean, memes are a perfect example of that. They offer nothing but community, and they just suck up liquidity and, volume, TVL, all those things. So, a lot of these projects you really have to look at. You have to zoom out and not, and I see it happen quite a bit, with the research that me and Jeff do when we go into these community discords and stuff like that, is there's almost like this feverish cult mentality of, this project is going to be successful because it's different. It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
It What really boils down to is you have to zoom out, you have to look at the whole picture and see, okay, is there a community? Is there, actual, institutions and organizations building out on it? Is there a growth? Is there TVL being injected? Is there people using it? Is there volume? All of these things make up a healthy ecosystem. Hype alone is not going to keep a project alive. I mean, again, look at any meme coin. Hype only lasts for so long.
Yeah, look at this. I pulled up DeFi Llama, the Chroma.
Oh, oh
This is
damn.
2024. Yeah, look
Oh
at that's
Lord.
the
Oh
volume.
Lordy.
Oh
Yeah.
Lord.
Oh Lordy.
Oh, yeah, it's all bad.
Yeah.
Oh, and is a Starknet on here?
Hey, what
Yeah.
up, hippie holder?
What up, Pepe?
Yeah, please hit the like, share, and follow.
I mean, at least this has 90 million. Chroma had a man. There's some people. that make more than that in a year that, that
Yeah,
Chroma
no,
got.
it's
Um, oh yeah, you brought up scroll too. Scroll is another layer too that has
mhm.
just, and you know what? They had some shit with the airdrop, and it was I'll actually show you the drop off. Yeah. It was literally like when the snapshot happened, or people, they suspect inside the team knew when the airdrop snapshot, that's when they take a snap of the blockchain, and whoever qualifies at that snapshot gets the airdrop. And they
Yep.
suspect a lot of the team or people on the inside dumped, because you see that drop off in just a few weeks. So it's just, and look at I mean, it's got 40 million, I mean, that's even half of ZK or Starkware. And then ZK Sync is another one. And the great tech, the ZK proofs, ZK knowledge, but ZK Sync isn't the only one that uses that. So, look at this. That's same as Scroll.
Well, Scroll, I mean, the problem with Scroll is it was trying to address that I saw, and I'm not an expert on Scroll, but from the research that I did, is it was going against competition wise, other layer twos, established layer twos like Arbitrum and Polygon, which already had a really large foothold, and they didn't offer enough that to that would make them competitive. So I mean, if you're going to dethrone some of these more established protocols, then I mean you're going to have to either have a huge marketing push to where you build a strong community to break through that barrier, have some sort of tokenomics that are going to encourage people to adopt, technology that is going to encourage institutions to build, or and people to build. It just all these different things. There's
Mhm.
so many levers that you need to pull to dethrone. It's like, I mean, imagine where you were trying to do a platform like Amazon, and you just barely launched, and Amazon has the market share that they do. Imagine the hurdles that you're going to have to overcome to try to dethrone Amazon.
Mhm.
And granted, I mean, that's an extreme example, but that's the kind of thing that you're dealing with here. When you have these projects that have billions of dollars of TVL and established partners that have been building for months and years, to be the new kid on the block, you gotta have something different. It's just, that's just the way that it goes.
Mhm. Yeah, this is I'm actually glad to see this start, because we need a consolidation. We need more focus and direction, and not just, and this is part of the process too, the painful growth. You got to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, and then refine from there. You can't sculpt a nice statue uh, in seconds. You got to fucking chisel away, and like, oh, this doesn't work. So it's it's good that it's cautionary. Let's see what else we
It's a
got. Oh yeah,
cautionary tale of a
yeah.
young man
Well,
entering the
and that's
crypto.
so optimism, right? They're a standing, been out 4 years now, I think, or three, and I didn't hold the airdrop long, and I actually, it would have been down significantly on the airdrop, if I would have held, the past 3 years. So also finding layer twos that, or these projects that you might have some short term uh, growth, but if they're not really producing like base, that has some utility and use case, even Solana, as far as like the gambling, casino, meme coin stuff,
Oh
and
yeah, the pumped out fun,
degen, yeah,
all that jibby
there's
jab.
space for that, and Ethereum, but this has really got me thinking. Like even optimism, I won't be an investor in long term.
I,
Arbitrum,
well,
just because
hold on, out of curiosity, I mean, why? I'm
because I see better stuff like base.
oh,
You
gotcha.
know,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I just don't want to. And thinking about the incoming liquidity and how it's just going to be spread around and not focused. Because early on, when Optimism airdrop happened, there weren't all these layer twos that were gonna. I didn't really think about the liquidity being spread all over the place with the meme coins taking up liquidity from all over the place. And it's just given me a different perspective now. Like, okay, what are the better layer twos? You know, the ones that are gonna hold up. Like Sonium, I can see standing. Like, even though that's probably not going to be used majority of people, it's going to be
Hey,
just for like the Sony ecosystem, and they're like these big companies that like EA might have their own blockchain or something like that. You know, those will hold up because they're specialized in their own little niche. But stuff like Optimism, yeah, they have stuff where you can build layer twos with, kind of like the building blocks. But I just would rather invest in base. You know, if they have a token, I would do that, or the base ecosystem. Find layer twos that even, I hate to say it, but Binance Smart Chain,
yeah.
because it's backed by Binance. You know, it's their on off ramp, and a lot of people in other countries find it really easy to transact on. Um,
So real quick, I just while we're on the topic,
mhm.
I just double checked because I wanted to be sure. I always like to make sure I put out good info. But Base is built out on Optimism using the OP stack. So
Yeah.
so OP does have a very strong relationship with
Okay.
Base. So I want to make sure that that everyone out there understands that you know a lot of these, and that's a huge part of the fundamentals that I look at whenever I am, deciding to get into my liquidity pools or stack a bag of something. Because again, my number one rule on, liquidity pools is, do I believe in the projects?
Hmm.
And, so part of that is how deeply ingrained are they with interoperability? So, in this case, you have base, you have optimism. Aerodrome is built on velodrome. So there's by the team. There's a lot of different relationships that these projects have, and it's important that you understand the entire ecosystem and how it's put together, because these layer twos, it's if they're not being included in this interoperability, mesh network, or this kind of new Web3 internet, for lack of a better term, they're probably not going to last. And that's, kind of
Yeah.
what we're talking about right now is, some of these layer twos are being left out in the cold. They're not invited to the party. There's these hand-picked projects that are being included in, especially in DeFi and RWAs and things like that, that are, that have a seat at the table. And some of these are not invited. And you need to
Hmm.
pay attention to which ones those are. It doesn't matter how strong the technology is. It doesn't matter how strong the community is. All these different, things, kind of, checklists that you go through when investing in these, it it's all of it together. You have to look at the whole picture. Don't get this tunnel vision to where you're only focused on one aspect. I see it a lot,
Mm.
this tribalism in these, in these projects. And as the fundamentals change, people's views don't change on that project. And you need to always be willing to walk away.
Yeah, I guess optimism would be a better bet. in the space because you're right. Velodrome is built by the same, the Aerodrome team, and it is the main marketplace on it. So it's like the Aerodrome of optimism. And
Well, Aerodrome was actually built out by the Velodrome team.
yeah, Aerodrome came from Velodrome, and
Yeah, yeah.
Velodrome is on more than just optimism as
Oh yeah,
well.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, it's all multi-chain, but that goes right back into that interoperability I was just talking about. Is if if a project isn't part of this interoperability network, then it's not going to survive. I mean, it's the more places that a chain is being utilized, especially on these dexes. When you go to VFAT and you pull
Oh.
up the all the different protocols that are on there, and then you go over to Uniswap and you look at the ones that are over there, and you go to all these different Pancake Swap and all these different ones. That's a good indication of how deeply adopted a chain or a protocol is the more places that you can find it, that
Mm-hmm.
is the sign of a strong project. If you're going to Uniswap and Pancake Swap and using these DeFi aggregators and you're not seeing a chain or you're not seeing a protocol, then I mean that's kind of the equivalent of a low market cap, really low market cap on
Mm-hmm.
coin market cap. It's a risky play. It might pay off big for you, but it's a higher risk. So just something to
Yeah.
keep in mind.
Yeah. Well, unless it's Aerodrome that's a specific for base, which is pretty cool because it does get like, I mean, it's even trying to take on Uniswap. So, and I'm kind of glad you brought up um, the cross chain collaboration stuff because the project that I got the little bird from, the little Haru,
Yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
actually, we covered them. I've covered them
Mm.
quite a bit, but they're actually going to launch in the next few weeks, and they're they're providing this interliquidity DeFi or interliquid networks, so you can deposit on their layer one and have access to your funds on all these different networks. So they're not going to be specific to one network. So they're building out this whole DeFi protocol that's a layer one blockchain that allows you to access your liquidity on Ethereum, Solana, Base, whatever, Cosmos. And that's why I'm like super excited about this because you don't have to fucking go all over the place. And once they really get built out, like all the DeFi liquidity pools and shit, I would be bullish on even not just this project, but building out this kind of tech because you don't want to be going to different bridges and routers and trying to
Well,
get your liquidity across.
that's what's so bullish about the base announcement. That they're going
Yeah.
to be, offering, those, all these different DeFi and RWA, offerings natively on their platform. Is you're not going to need to be fiddle fucking with wallets. You're not going to be, need to be connecting to bridges where there can be exploits. You're not going to, there a lot of this
Hmm.
stuff that we're having to do now is going to go away. I've said it before. All of the all of the friction that exists right now in DeFi, and the knowledge you have to navigate these different protocols and stuff, all of that is going to be stripped away. All of these pain points of trying to navigate DeFi is going to go away. And as that happens, then your everyday people that don't know about crypto, that don't know about DeFi, that don't know how to use wallets and test transactions and all of these different things, all of that's going to be stripped away, and it's just going to be nothing but a flood of liquidity. When people see, I mean, you were talking about it the other day. You went and saw your aunt and uncle and were telling them about DeFi, and they were just like, what?
Yeah.
And,
I can earn
and
how
you,
much percent?
yeah, no, and when I tell family members and people I know about it, they're like, "Oh yeah, right," and I'm just like, "Okay, don't believe me," It's
Hmm.
like I'm not going to try to convince you. Um, it's but I mean that's where we're at right now is we're early adopters. It's like, yes, is it more painful? Absolutely. Is there a
Hmm.
lot more upside? Absolutely. Is there a bunch of money to be made before the masses get here? Absolutely. And so, real quick, I want
Ooh.
to answer this for Stan. Why
Yeah, I was
hasn't
just reading
Velodrome?
that.
Yeah, why hasn't Velodrome had as much success as Aerodrome when they are related? Very good question. And to be honest, I don't know. It's just a matter of people using it. The amount of TVL, the amount of volume. It's just Aerodrome either had a sexier logo or a more recognizable name, or just yeah, I don't know.
I think it's base itself. If that Because looking at it
It's
as
mentioned a lot more.
optimism doesn't have that kind of backing, or because it's an easy way to onboard people, because it's like a TD Ameritrade account or an E-Trade account. You can just deposit your money and buy some crypto, and then you can send it to a wallet. And if you're just getting in, it's gonna be a lot easier to use Coinbase. And then you have Aerodrome that's native to Base, and I don't know. I just feel like it seems like they're able to attract a lot more
I
activity.
I honestly think a lot of it is just the attention. Just and I don't know if it'd be marketing, but it just seems like any time that base is mentioned and Aerodrome, the team on at Aerodrome is active as fuck on social media. They are always posting updates and hey, we're listing this and look at our volume and we're breaking records with Coinbase wrapped ETH and Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin. We have more volume than all other dexes combined with for these assets, and they're just always out there, and that activity, it's like having a YouTube channel. The more visible you are, the more recognizable your name is, then the more kind of credibility that you get. I mean, that's about the only thing I can think of, because for the most part, I mean, the UI is almost exactly the same. I mean, it was
Mhm.
built by the same team. All the mechanics is pretty much the same. It's they're basically just branded differently. So, I mean, that's the best answer I can give you, Stan.
Let's see. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
So OP mainnet, and thinking about optimism and the super stack that they offer people to build on. This kind of makes sense that their DeFi wouldn't be as much, because they're not pushing to be a DeFi chain so much as offering utility in other ways, of like the building blocks of building a blockchain. Like Plume with the RWAs, they allowed you to build on their network and give you the tools necessary. So that could be another thing to consider, is like, okay, this might not have a lot in DeFi, so to speak, but what does the project offer outside of that, and is it worth um, investing in that use case and utility? Because yeah, what would happen if Base or somebody, or if Optimism did go down and a project like Base was building on their super stack? I mean, I don't think Base would keep going, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
as far as I
It, honestly, that question's above my head. I won't even
yeah,
pretend like I know. For real. I'm not going to
no,
pretend like I know something if I don't.
yeah, no, I don't even have a clue myself, man. So, some of this stuff is like, uh, let's see, what else was oh yeah, compared to Base. I mean, that's a healthy DeFi, man. You come down for this dip right here and you climb back up. Holy shit. That's good looking
Oh, dude.
compared to a year ago or a year and a yeah. But yeah, because they launched a couple years ago. I think 2 years now. So yeah, these layer twos, um, Plume definitely one that I am gonna be keeping because they're partnerships, and that's another thing. Keep the partnerships in mind. That project Chroma that we were talking about earlier, they didn't really have partnerships like that. And if you don't have a lot of use case and utility and you don't have the partnerships and you aren't going to last. Um,
Oh, dude. Here you go. There. I'll show you. I just again DeFi Llama. You gotta freaking have it. So check this out.
wield
So
the
basically, what I
power.
did is I pulled up Velodrome and Aerodrome to do a
Mm,
comparison. Right here you can go to compare protocols. I pulled up Velodrome and Aerodrome, and you can see Aerodrome Slipstream is just Slipstream is $703 million, as opposed to Velodrome, which is only 51 million, 52
ooh,
million if you count V1. So I mean, just the amount of TVL is just head and shoulders. Aerodrome is head and shoulders above Velodrome.
gosh, yeah, marketing, man, attention, and they are on it and building and the partnerships. I mean, Brian Armstrong's been in DC. How many times? Oh, like he's constantly at all these events and um,
Well, it seems like every time that he's talking about something on Coinbase, he's always talking about Aerodrome. He's talking about when he's was made the announcements they were bringing DeFi onto Coinbase. He just kept talking about Aerodrome. Another one that they've already done a while back. Those of you that might remember was Morpho, where they basically
mhm.
Bitcoin backed loans that they're putting on the Coinbase platform. Its base is, from what I can tell, purpose built for DeFi, and it's going to be the DeFi beast.
Oh, yeah, Morpho. Fuck, 4.1 billion TVL. Jesus
Yep.
Christ, look at how in just 2 months it
Yep.
doubled
and
almost.
and it's because of the Coinbase, Bitcoin backed
Oh,
loans.
wow.
That's I'm telling you, dude. I mean, that's why data.
Wow.
I'm always telling people, like, I don't know how many people on X that will chime up with, but look at the price. Look at the price. It's a trash project. Look at the price. And I'm like, you're going to get wrecked. If you're just constantly looking at price and allowing that to dictate when you get in and out of a project, you're going to be one of those that's buying high and selling low, because you're going to buy when the emotions are high and the hype is going on. And when it dumps, you're going to get fudded out and you're going to sell. And
Hmm.
that is why you need to check your emotions at the door, and you need to use these tools like DeFi Llama that give you actual data. I mean, look at this. If you looked at Morpho's price, you would think, oh shit, should I get out? Looking at this, the answer is hell fuck no.
Yeah, where's
Yeah,
the
pull up the chart on Morpho. I mean, it's just been ranging, boring,
yeah.
boring, boring, boring.
Well, I mean, even optimism's at way all-time lows. So even a lot of these that have been around
But
that
yeah, and
have,
zoom out.
but
Look at that dump happened a while back.
oh yeah, right when it launched.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it dumped. It tried to recover a little bit. It dumped some more, and then it's been ranging. You would just think Morpho is a boring ass project, but you look at the data,
Oh, there
it's
you go.
anything but.
Yeah, because I thought it was out longer than that.
Yeah,
Okay,
no, it has been. But yeah, look, I mean, there was a nice, a nice
four
pump in the
dollar.
beginning, did nothing but dump, and now it's been ranging. And you would think from looking at this chart that you're like, oh, it's probably it's a boring project. I'm going to move on to something else. But looking at the data, their TVL is going fucking parabolic.
Bro. $1.15, and you're telling me that a project worth $4 billion is what
That's
what are some of these tech like Snapchat or something valued at, the I mean, I don't know what
oh,
Snapchat stock price is worth, but
here we go. Let me
I'd be
pull it up real
interested
quick.
in some of these tech, like in the traditional finance, what their TVL or valuation is and what their stock price is. Cause yeah, dude, that's incredible. Edible egg. Oh, Hoskinson could take some notes. Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
Jay.
Snapchat, it's 13.75 billion currently.
Okay.
You
And
know,
let's see
and, and
the
and Snapchat has been out for a
snap.
long freaking time.
Eight
You know,
$8 is
yeah,
their stock price right now.
but you got to
And that's
figure that Morpho is. I mean, Snapchat is a lot more accessible. Snapchat, anybody with a smartphone that can type in
yeah.
a search into the Apple Store or something like that can find Snapchat. How many people, if you walk down the street and talk to 1,000 people, how many are going to know what Morpho is? And
Yeah.
how many are going to know what Snapchat is?
Yeah. But for the exposure, I think I don't know. I mean, how much does Snapchat or something like that produce actually? And what I know it has access, but man, this is just like the people that are involved in this aren't just some 13-year-old teenage girl that's Snapchatting her friend, that's
Mhm.
not their user base. You're talking about institutional grade heavy hitters that can move markets. And I think even 10% of the exposure or 20% of the exposure compared to Snapchat would dwarf them over time just because of the flood of investments.
It's all going to come down to what I was talking about before. The difference between Snapchat. I mean, that's a perfect example. The difference between something like Snapchat and Morpho. To get to Morpho, first you have to be involved in crypto. Then you
Mm.
have to, know about wallets, and you got to know about DeFi, and then you have to somehow find out about Morpho. And, just there's all these different things. It's so niche. But Snapchat or Twitter or something like that, it's just boom, it's in your face. Everyone knows what it is, everyone knows how to find it. Imagine holding Morpho now and then it at some point being as accessible as those apps that I just talked about,
Mm.
because if it becomes that accessible. And that's what I was talking about with the barriers to entry and the friction that it takes to get to these DeFi platforms right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to understand where we're at, in this market. And I know it is demoralizing holding a lot of these assets while these markets are dumping like this. I'll be honest, it doesn't phase me in the slightest. And I mean, and I want to, Jeff, let you finish up whatever you have to say, but definitely before we end this, I'm going to give you an example. I mean, I'm going to, as always, full transparency. I'm going to show you my current positions and what I'm making daily
I
off
mean, we can
of.
kick it over to you. Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
this is kind of been, hammered down. Like I'm really
yeah,
happy
yeah.
with what
All
we
right,
covered
cool.
so far because that was
Yeah,
really important because I've really it's really changed my perspective and given me like, okay, am I what do I really want to invest in and what's going to last? Now's oh, let me turn that off.
I got it. All right. So this is VFAT. Those of you that are not familiar, and jump in at any time, Jeff. Um, so this is my positions on VFAT. You can see, I have two range positions that are currently in my wrapped ETH USDC that's earning about $50 a day, and then my wrapped ETH KTA position that's making about $24 a day, and but my other two wrapped ETH KTA positions are both well out of range. Like I can click on them and you can see I'm just grossly out of range. So yeah, I'm way down on those. I'm not going to rebalance. I'm not even sweating it because if you look at it, I have 1,913 KTA. I'm hodling right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not earning yield, but I'm not losing KTA. My balance has gone down because the value of KTA has gone down, but I'm not losing any KTA because I'm already out of range. So I'm basically hodling. This is what I would be doing if I had it in cold storage or something like that. It doesn't phase me at all. So that's one example. So right now, I'm earning just off of these, this one full range arrow position and these two range positions that are currently in range. I'm making $76 a day just off of these. And I have a bunch more to go over. I have these over on Beefy that I'm earning. I've earned $100 here, $28 here, $21 here. Not per day, mind you. Over here, I'm making about 8, 9, 10, about $11. About $11 a day off these three positions. All of these are fully automated on Beefy. They're range positions, but they auto rebalance. They always keep me in range. They optimize. It's just fire and forget. Yes, because prices are down. My P&L or my profit and loss. You can see, I have some decent P&L on these. Again, not worried about it. Prices will go back up. Not sweating it at all. You can see my plume position is out of range because we went below 8 cents. Again, not worried about it. I have $163 in fees that I haven't collected. On my full range position here, I have another $40 I haven't collected. Not worried about it. Those assets are both in USDC and Plume. So basically, I have some locked in value, and then I'm stacking more Plume. Again, not worried about it. So this is what I really want to share. So this is the whole picture. So currently, right now, the other day I posted, and I had about $31,000 in my DeFi portfolio. Even with all of this dumping, I am now up to $38,900, so almost $39,000. My DeFi portfolio is about to lap my bull run portfolio. Even with all
Damn.
this dumping, yeah, I started with 15 grand. I am now, even with all of this dumping over the past couple of months, I am almost to $40,000 from 15 grand. I have a lot more tokens. This is just the dollar value. I have a lot more tokens. I have almost $40,000 worth of the same projects. And KTA is an additional project. So when
Mhm.
the market takes off, easily, this thing's going to be over $100,000. My DeFi portfolio alone will be over $100,000 easily. I'm earning $179 a day in DeFi income. My monthly DeFi income is $5,000 currently. It fluctuates. $5,361. Again, I started with 15 grand. It doesn't take a lot to get started. You can have a grand or 2 grand. It's just going to take you a while to build. But
Mhm.
this shows you, even in this shit market we've been dealing with for the past 6 months, I've grown a DeFi portfolio, a respectable one. Not as much as some out there, but I don't compare my earnings to other people. I am simply trying to grow my own portfolio and change my own life. and try to teach some of you out there, give you some tips, some tricks. I learn from the community all the time. There's people at different levels of experience. And so I'm going to show you the actual positions. So this is all of my positions. This all started with one wrapped ETH USDC position. And I
And that's
earned
important. You just need to start with one. And don't try and do all this fancy stuff. Just start with one and learn from there.
yep.
See what works, go through the routine, and
And that's what I started with. And it was about an $8,000 position. But I earned a bunch of yield off of it, and I planted these other seeds. And these other seeds have grown, and I've taken yield from those and opened more positions and more positions and more positions. And so now you can see, I have my bag of Flare I'm earning from staking, my Casper I'm earning from staking. Not a lot. I mean, I'm only earning 16% on my Casper. My Flare, I'm earning like 800% because I'm earning about $35 a month off of that. So, or sorry, no, you know what? That's wrong. Apologies on that one.
oh, the flare.
Actually, I think it's 33%. Yep, that's about right. All right, sorry about that. So I'm
33.
only earning $144 a day and $4,333 a month. So that changed things a little bit. Wrapped ETH Plume. I've been earning on Plume USDC, and then I have some vault positions. A lot of these are range. Some of them are staking. Vaults are just steady earning. Full range, full range, full range. I have 2 range positions that are luckily still in range because I set really wide ranges on them. But for the most part, what I'm earning is off of the foundation. And let me pull this up real quick because I cannot stress enough. If you haven't watched any of our videos, you need to watch this one. Let's
Oh, what up,
go.
Deadwood? Deadwood commented on the Twitter stream. He said it hurts.
Yes. So
I'm
this
surprised
one
I can sit
right
down
here.
right now with the way the market went.
If you don't watch any of our videos and you only watch one and you're in DeFi, watch this episode, Building Your DeFi Portfolio. Basically what I go over is assessing your risk tolerance and your financial goals and building out a portfolio. And this is what I did. All I do is go step by step what I did to build my portfolio so that I can have these results. Most of my portfolio is no matter what the market does. The reason I'm still earning $144 a day, even though that the market is shit, is because I'm in full range positions, lending, staking, vaults, things that price does not impact my earning. So I'm consistently earning yield every single second of every single day. That is
Mhm.
the foundation of your portfolio. Yes, I have some ranged positions. Some are in range, some are out of range. I'm not sweating the out of range ones because I'm still earning $4,333 a month right now with those out of range. I can patiently sit back and wait for price to go back up and those to go back into range because I'm still earning. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to go to bed, lay my head down on my pillow and sleep soundly knowing that I'm earning money while I sleep. And I can go out and work on the property, I can work out, I can take vacations, I can do what if you have a
Mhm.
regular job, you can go to work. You can spend time with the family. You can be going about your daily life. And this is like a small business with no employees, no overhead, no brick and mortar, no
Mhm.
inventory, no customers. the customers that you do have, it's all automated. There's all smart contracts. It's people that are borrowing your liquidity, and the smart contracts, it's like having an AI and a robot running your business for you. All you have to do is worry about paying the taxes.
Easy. You just
Easy,
kick back. Yep.
lemon squeezy.
I guess the
So,
taxes would be the only stressful part.
and honestly, using Coinbase, I have Coinbase One. There's a couple of clicks. It brings up all my transactions. I give it to my accountant. Bing, bang, boom. You can actually export it, and there's platforms, crypto platforms, you can upload it onto, and it will like automatically, I think with AI, do it for you. So I don't know what to tell some people out there. It's the money's here, the opportunity is here. You can hodl your bags if you want and watch the price go down and hope that they go back up, or you can be hodling bags and stacking. Choice is yours. Arrow. These full range arrow bags. I got $3,000 in this one. If arrow goes back up to $2.20, this is going to go up. I don't get full price appreciation, but all the yield that I earn does. The bag of arrow I have on the side, if I don't put it in another position, but I still get the majority of price appreciation when the price of arrow goes up, or the price of plume goes up, or the price of ETH or KTA or AVAX, or all these other assets. You need to learn how to make your money make you money. If you're hodling bags, you're a step above having fiat in a bank account. You're probably going to make money, if you're buying good assets, but you're holding money in your account, hoping that it's going to go up. Put your money to work.
Yeah, Twinkle Bell. I do that with a lot of shows that I listen to or watch. I'll treat the videos as a podcast, and it's really informative. Whether you watch the video or just listen to it, as long as you can get the information and absorb it. Yeah, Deadwood.
Well, our whole community has. Ellie's been doing great. Jay's been doing great. A lot of the people in our Discord
Picking good pools.
Yeah, no, it's just they've all been watching. They've all been listening, and they were able to navigate and not make some of the mistakes that I made, because again, I'm fully transparent. If I screw something up and lose money, I'm going to share it with you. I am 100% transparent. I started this channel initially because I wanted to share my DeFi journey from the start, when I knew very little, to now where I know a little bit more. This is nothing but almost like a video journal of my experience in DeFi. I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to lose money sometimes, but all of us are making money in a down market. In a sideways market, we make even more money. And in a pumping market, we make even more money, because you're getting price appreciation and yield. And there's a lot of volume going on, because you have everyone that's out there swapping and trading and taking out loans so they can do leverage positions and all these different things. So once this market kicks off, if you have a good DeFi portfolio in good assets, buckle up, Buttercup, because you're going to make a lot of freaking money. And this whole time that, Plume is down and all these other assets are down is going to seem like a distant memory. I'm still a little bit suspicious. I only look at the older platform. On Plume, there are a lot of choices, but there is hardly liquidity. That is correct. You are early to Plume. They only
Yeah.
went live like 2-3 weeks ago. So they're still onboarding TVL. So yes, if you put liquidity on a lot of these, dexes that are on Plume mainnet, you're very early. It's higher risk. Understand that. It's part of the game. I would suggest if you are either new or your risk tolerance is lower, stick to Uniswap, the Plume USDC pools that are there, the Plume, wrapped ETH pools that are there are going to be a better bet. There's deeper liquidity on Uniswap. So, these positions, small positions that I'm doing on Plume mainnet is mostly to help educate the community. I'm taking the risk so you don't have to. That's all that is. I am not saying go to the Plume portal and start dumping liquidity into there. If you want to do some small positions to test it out for yourself, and your risk tolerance is a little bit higher, and it's liquidity that you don't need to pay a bill or something like that, by all means. But if you're new to DeFi, stick to the larger platforms with deeper liquidity. Aerodrome,
Mhm.
Uniswap, Pancake Swap. For lending, stick to Aave. Do not go to these obscure dexes that are promising 10,000% APR, but the pool only has $800 in it. You're
Yeah.
gonna get wrecked if you're lucky.
Yeah. Real quick, I wanted to ask you about this with
Please.
the tensions in the Middle East right now. Like, and the how do you feel holding or moving certain assets into like Bitcoin and Ethereum? Are you concerned with, well, because I just saw on Twitter that it had been confirmed that we had bombed 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, including a full payload of bombs just an hour ago on the main Fordro uranium refining facility, and then Trump called for peace. So this just happened within the past few hours, and I don't know what that's going to do with the markets going forward, because I know he had this 2 week time frame. And I guess now the U.S. military is now briefing troops that its strike on Iran will likely result in counterstrikes on U.S. bases and facilities in the Middle East, and likely activate Iran and other foreign terrorist organization cells abroad, including in the U.S. So, what's your thoughts on the market with that?
Well, I mean, so a little bit of background on me. Those that don't know, I'm not huge on putting it out there all the time, but I spent 22 years in the military, both Army and Marines, with multiple combat deployments. But so I'm speaking from somewhat experience, when it comes to the military, war, things like that. And then of course, you know I've been in crypto for about 4 or 5 years now, and so I have a decent understanding of the crypto markets, and that sort of thing. There's definitely people smarter than me. Drew over at Blockchain Basement, DZ, Josh when it comes to politics, over on Discover Crypto. All those guys. If you haven't checked out their channels, by all means, please do.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I don't put a lot of thought into things that I have no control over. Do I take them into account when I'm investing? Absolutely. But the world is going to keep churning. No matter what war is going on or fighting is going on, money still has to move. Things are still going to get bought and sold. People are still going to invest. Long term. How are you investing? Short term or long term? If you're investing long term like I am, I don't pay much attention to those things because I'm investing in assets that I believe in long term. It's like looking at a chart, for technical analysis. Are you looking at the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 minute, the 1 hour, the 4 hour, the 1 day, the 1 week, the 1 month? That's how you have to think of these things. Is if you're doing day trading, If you're trading, absolutely, this has a lot more impact on how you're investing.
Mm-hmm.
But DeFi and hodling is a much longer time frame. And so it has less of an effect unless you're emotional. Because
Mm-hmm.
as you can see, it's dumping the markets. If you're emotional and you start dumping your assets, 100%,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to affect your portfolio because you don't have control of your emotions. If you look at the big picture, banks are still going to need to move money. That the cross border payments and the banks wanting to tokenize real world assets, stocks, bonds, treasuries, all of these things. This technology is being built out. It's not going to stop.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is going to do nothing but accelerate. So I'll leave it at that. I'm
No,
by far I'm not an expert, but that's my take on it.
no, I appreciate that because I just want to make sure, I know we don't talk a lot of politics and stuff and we try and keep all that out, but with this is something, like a war is a whole different thing and, wanting to make sure that people understand its effects on the markets and we want to curb any FUD, in case you might be concerned about the markets. We'll try and give our perspective. And Mike does have, a lot of years of experience in military and combat and stuff. So having that perspective is great because he's like, okay, yeah, certain assets will hold up. Like during COVID, everything shut down, everything tanked, but then it went right back up. So, it is good to not be so fearful and dumping your assets. And, we want to make sure that you guys have good perspective and aren't going to go crazy and start selling. But DeFi is definitely, holding good assets like Plume, ETH, Morpho, all those that will generate you Arrow, and picking wide ranges, and just being smart, and yeah, the war is out of our control. Those things, we can't do anything, but what we can control is right here, our finances as much as we can, and much better in DeFi than in a TradFi. But, the world will keep churning, short of a nuclear explosion. But yeah, just, keep DCAing. Who was that said, yeah, Twinkle Bell, I'll still DCA, that at this point you want to, where it's red. The red days you want to DCA. The green days, in the bull run you want to sell. I mean, I sold some Arrow that I had at $2, and put it into some other airdrop hunting stuff. So, taking portions of things and whatever works for you or whatever your needs are. And like Mike said, if you don't need to pay a bill, you can roll that into another pool or something. If you do, hey, we're all in different places and stages, and don't feel like you need to be, oh, I have to do this right. You're going to stress yourself out. And
At these levels, I mean, the way I look at DeFi is I'm stacking my bags with yield, with fees that people are paying me to use my hodl bags. Um,
you're in the
and
money glitch.
Well, and what better way to DCA than for free? Everyone always talks about that buy the dip, because it lowers your average entry. Nothing lowers your average entry more than free. It's like, free, it
Yep.
dramatically drops your average entry.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's a lot of my bags that technically, like all my KTA is technically free. I mean, I basically have zero, of my own money, $0 of my own money in KTA or Plume. My entire Plume and KTA bags are from earning yield on that wrapped ETH USDC pool I was in. So my average entry on both of those bags is 0. Technically.
Oh, I mean, that's anything anything with the zero, that you
Yeah.
get just compounding too. It's just
Yeah.
compounding.
And that free money is making me more free money. And then that free money is going to make me, that is compounding yield. That is the power of compounding yield.
Mm-hmm.
Is again, here is my DeFi is I started, and you can go back in our episodes. I started with $15,000 and I've always showed my earnings, almost every episode I do this is, basically just, I have not, other than the trip that I just took with my lady down to California to see the Shane Gillis, comedy show. I haven't taken any profits. I have rolled them all back into opening new positions. And because I've done that, I've been able to grow it like I have. Am I at some point going to start taking profits? Absolutely. And this is when I'm going to do it. This is one of the other sheets that we provide for free in our Discord. This is my take profit strategy. This is my ladder out strategy. And if it has my Casper, my DAG, my Arrow, my Ondo, my Plume, my Link, my AVAX, Flare, KTA, ETH, all of them. I mean, it doesn't even have all of them, but these are my larger bags. If I hit all my take profit points, I'll get out, and this is just my HODL bags. I'll have $523,858. This is all formulas. So you just put in how many tokens you have, what percentage that you want to take at each level, and what price you want to take it. It will tell you how many tokens that you need to sell and what those tokens will be worth at that time. And then it totals everything up for you. So, and then it gives you a little pie chart so that, you can see, how your portfolio is balanced. If you're, too heavy in one or, not heavy enough in another, it shows, kind of how your portfolio is balanced out. But I highly suggest you do this now, because if you don't, you're going to get caught up in the emotion and when everything's pumping, and you're going to keep thinking, if I hold a little bit longer, I can make a little bit more money. And you're going to end up round tripping your bags. It happens to people every time. So build this out now at max FUD and at these prices so that you're realistic. And as prices start to pump, you start to take the profits. And me personally, and I'll end on this because we've been going for an hour and a half.
Shit, yeah.
But I know time flies. I'm going to be exiting all of these take profit points. I'm going to be exiting into stables. Those stables, I'm going to put to work in DeFi and on Aave and, other places to where I can earn 5, 10, 15, 20%. It's not a lot. I know, in crypto, 10, 20% isn't a lot, but on $500,000, 20% is quite a bit. So, 20%. So that's $20,000 per $100,000. So you're looking at $100,000 a year, just earning 20%. Am I doing that right? Yeah. So I'm earning $100,000 a year off $500,000, just earning 20%. That's not bad. And after that's all said and done, I'm going to be, it's not like I'm going to be spending that money. I have my retirement. I have no bills. I'm going to be taking that money and I'm going to be stacking it, because when the market, that year of dumping that's going to happen into the bear market or, whatever happens, I'll end up having, $550,000, $600,000 because of the $100,000 that I'll earn that I can redeploy. And I can redeploy that into, other DeFi plays, full range positions, real estate, whatever, yield bearing assets that I can, again, rinse and repeat. I take that yield, I open new positions, I take, what I earn off of real estate, I buy new properties, and you see how you can grow this and treat it like a small business. So That's about all I got. You got anything closing?
Oh, Deadwood had this comment: energy derivatives, 240K will get you 10K back a month for life if you use a trust.
See,
Interesting.
that's the Deadwood. That's the kind of stuff you need to be sharing in the Discord, brother.
Yeah, buddy. Shit.
So and on Thursdays, we're going to start having I had him on this past Thursday, but my brother Taylor, he is an estate attorney. He owns his own law firm down in McKinney, Texas, and owns a real estate title company. So a subject matter expert on both, how to protect your assets, how to mitigate your tax liabilities, things like that. Of course, real estate and tips and tricks for that. And then his business partner Jeff is on as well, and he is a licensed financial advisor, an investment guy, TradFi, and giving his expertise when it comes to that. So make sure you're watching our Thursday episodes because they're going to be giving a lot of information and alpha on that. So we're trying to build a community here of just all around, finances, crypto, tradfi, real estate, how to protect, your wealth as you grow it, how to
Hmm.
build it out, before you start growing it so that like Deadwood was just talking about, that when it comes, when the tax man comes a calling, that you have these tax shelters that mitigate the amount of taxes you have to pay. Because if you're not paying attention, the government is not using your taxes responsibly. So, me personally, I'm going to be mitigating my tax burden as much as possible because my Social Security that I've been paying in my whole life, I doubt I'll see any of that. And if I just was able to keep that and even put it in the traditional stock market, I would have multiple millions of dollars right now. Whereas if I end up getting Social Security, it's probably going to be like $900 a month or, $1,100 a month or some shit for all the money that I put in.
Hmm.
So don't trust the government to take care of you. You need to take control of your own life and build out your financial future for you and your family. So,
Yes,
Jeff,
yes.
your closing thoughts. I'm sorry I got on a
Oh
soapbox there
no,
for
that no, I just appreciate all of you, sharing your time with us and uh, just willing to listen and educate yourselves and even educate us on some things, and just make sure that these projects you're investing in, you take the time to look into the partnerships, look at what they're building and developing, and don't just follow blindly on price action and um, the FUD in the news. So just be smart, and we'll always work on providing you the latest, the best information on these projects and our takes on them and what to avoid, and just try and make it a lot easier for you guys to navigate. But I appreciate all of you and hope that you have a wonderful weekend and enjoy touching some grass, smoking some grass, whatever you're into,
and touching smash.
and touching some ass. Yes,
So
yes.
on the way out, I want to give a shout out again. I know it sounds like we're shilling, but I really want you all to get your information from trusted sources. Discover Crypto, weekdays in the mornings. Discover Crypto kicks it off at about 7:30. Directly after, you're either going to get BitLab Academy. Discover Crypto is usually news, macroeconomics, politics, everything that affects the crypto markets. You'll get BitLab Academy, where Kelly is is awesome at reading
Hmm.
charts, trading, those sorts of things. Of course, in the Discord, they you can actually talk with them one on one and get tips and tricks, enter trades with them, things like that. And then, of course, blockchain basement. Drew and Isaac over there do an amazing job, bringing you additional news, but more from a based standpoint. If you don't know what based is, it's basically leave me the fuck alone. I don't need the government. I just want to live my life and be free. But They do a great job of presenting the news over there. Drew does, a lot of in-depth analysis of different projects, shouts out a lot of early on, low cap gems, and does a little bit of trading as well. So, by all means, please check him out. And of course, my boy Jeff over at Blockchain Report dropping the airdrop alpha. So
Yeah.
if you're not, subscribe, because you do not want to be listening to people that are shilling you projects that they're invested in or getting paid to shill so that you buy them and you can be exit liquidity for other people. So with that, thank you all. The Deadwood, Stan, who else we got in here? Twinkle Bell.
Bell.
I know. I have to like.
Doobie Doo J.
There you go.
Hippie Holder Alex.
Ben Simmons. Alex Dupree.
Sack Nasty.
Sean McClausland. It's like, yeah, you're definitely Scottish or something. But yeah, I just want to say, Sack Nasty, thank you all. We appreciate you, everyone watching on X. We really do. We do have some links in the description of some sponsors. That is mostly for our brother channels. Me and Jeff, we do not get paid to do this. We do not take money from any project. We do not accept, any payment from anybody. If we do in the future, we will definitely let you know. I am all about integrity. I will not sell my integrity for any price. It's ingrained in me from the military. So we are here simply to educate you. We want you to be successful. We are not going to shill, and we are not going to mislead you. So with that, thank you all. Have a great weekend. And until next time, Veteran Crypto out.